Today, I had a call with four executives from a Fortune 500 software development department about their AI coding adoption. We didn't talk about governance or security, they had that part covered. We were talking about why AI coding was scaling for them, although they basically did everything right. I'm Jonas from Eclipsers. Let me share what we concluded on. When we support companies with AI coding adoption, we usually include a conversation with the executive team about topics that have to be driven by leadership. These topics typically include things like compliance, security, data protection, vendor login, and so on. Now, these topics are important. However, they are discussed elsewhere. This video is not about that. Instead, I would like to focus on three less visible issues. Issues that don't necessarily look like mistakes, sometimes even like good leadership. And all these issues come from one underlying assumption. More on this assumption at the end of the video. Let's start with issue number one. Let's start with ROI. Before I get a lot of comments on this video, I want to emphasize that measuring ROI in software development in an agile process with non-repeating requirements and a lot of influencing factors is a story by itself. However, when it comes to AI coding, I observe a strong desire to measure ROI basically from day one. End of 2025, we worked with a mid-sized software department, around 80 engineers. Leadership team had done anything right, approved budget, a selected tool, they conducted trainings, workshops. And a couple of weeks later, the CTO asked their team leads, is it working? Do we see efficiency gains? Can we actually improve the velocity and can we lower estimates? Good intention makes perfect sense. However, this is what happened on the ground. One senior software developer told me privately, I barely use it. If AI slows me down, I look like the problem and I risk the team's sprint goal. I only use it for safe stuff like boilerplate, but nothing that could actually blow up. Another developer told me he never had time to even finish the setup or try the new tooling. So he just continues as before because he doesn't want to risk any estimations or any of the development velocity. Within a month, the team had silently divided. Some were using it for simple and safe stuff only, some had stopped to use it completely. And nobody was actually experimenting or sharing anything that they learned. What leadership basically did here is they created a productivity initiative, not a learning initiative. Now, what actually works in our experience is saying out loud, not implied, for the next 6 or 8 weeks, reduced productivity is expected, it's wanted. We want you to learn, we want you to experiment, and we want you to report what doesn't work, not only what works. And if you then also have the guts to reduce the sprint goals, to potentially delay a release and take the pressure off the team, they actually will have the time to learn and adapt this new way of working. Or, in a nutshell, if you don't invest time, you won't have any benefits to measure. And if you measure too early, you will kill the learning. Let's get to issue number two. The second issue is what I call the enterprise playbook trap. And this is a little bit related to the video we posted 1 week ago about issues with AI coding setups. Now, I observe this very frequently, especially with larger organizations. If an organization decides to roll out AI coding, they follow their standard playbook for rolling out tools. They evaluate tools, they negotiate with a vendor, they buy licenses, they plan the rollout. In parallel, they define governance, integrate the tool with all their systems. And this is how you deploy tools in enterprise environments. It's very thorough, it's very responsible. The problem is, by the time you're done, you are already outdated. The model that you selected 6 months ago, outdated. The tool that you selected 6 months ago, nobody cares about it anymore. I recently did a training for a company that selected a tool, and by the time they wanted to roll out the tool, the vendor of the tool was acquired by another company, and the tool got discontinued. Meanwhile, your developers see announcements every week: new models, new tools, new capabilities. They watch YouTube videos, they read articles, they try these tools at home. And when they come to work, they feel like working in a very restrictive, potentially outdated environment. They will dislike it. They will even reject to use that. They feel like it's holding them back. And the consequence of that is often shadow setups. People will find ways to work around that. They will use their own tools and they will not use the global setup that you spend so much energy on. Now, this might be surprising to hear from us. As you might know, we provide a training that suggests a common workflow for AI coding. However, if you look more carefully, this workflow is really a basic and flexible frame. It's a structure that gives some stability for continuous evolution and it's tool agnostic. So it's not a fixed setup that locks down decisions. The solution for the executive level we concluded on is very similar. It's a different kind of governance. Instead of defining very detailed rules first, a focus on flexibility. Define clear guardrails. So, where can something go really wrong? And try to make that very strict but minimal. And then delegate responsibility down to the teams. Let them select their tools first themselves. Let them define their workflows, their setup, and so on. You can harmonize that later. Instead, focus on the good structure that facilitates learning and experience collection. You want to learn when something works well in a team so you can potentially deploy it in other teams. And of course, the opposite when something doesn't work. Let different approaches compete for quite a while. Let people find out what works and what not. And then at a certain point of time, if things stabilize, you can harmonize the thing and maybe bring it down to less variation. However, what's interesting to me are most companies that I know that successfully adopt AI coding over time, even after some consolidation, still deploy two, three, or even four different AI coding tools, and all of them have at least two different major LLM providers. So, in a nutshell, in this fast moving field, governance must govern change. You don't standardize setups, but you standardize the evolution of setups. And with that, let's dive into issue number 3. The third blocker is maybe the most damaging one. I also call this under communication. I worked with a company last year and they fully went in on AI coding. The CEO announced in an all hands with all developers, we are fully invested. This is the future. We want to make it happen. Very clear endorsement, very enthusiastic, very clear message. And then nothing. No follow up. No information on what that means for hiring, for performance reviews, for estimates. Basically, nothing about all the consequences. 6 months later, I talked to three different teams with very, very different feedback. In team number one, the team lead interpreted the global announcement as AI is mandatory for everything. He also started to push back estimates from teams with the argument just use AI, you must be more efficient. And to motivate the team and show that AI works, he continuously posted YouTube videos of success stories and articles and case studies where some code refactoring, for example, worked very well. And what the team felt is a lot of pressure. When AI wasn't working the way it was, they had no argument against this. And also, when a task was even not suitable for AI, they felt forced to use AI basically for everything. In the second team, the team manager was rather skeptical towards AI. He never discouraged it, but he also never rewarded or acknowledged its use. So, as a consequence, the team stopped to mention their use of AI. They just silently did it, but they were never able to, for example, share experience or communicate problems with it anymore. The third team was somewhere in between. However, they had a different issues. They were very convinced that headcount reduction was coming. And although they were using AI, they felt like they are training their own replacement. Now, same company, same announcement, but three very, very different cultures. From the outside, it looked like inhomogeneous adoption. The leadership team assumed that some teams are getting it while others don't. In reality, it was ambiguity. If you don't communicate something very clearly, people will fill the blank space with their own fear. Executives do not have to have all the answers, but they must tell what is the intent, what is the priority, and what are the boundaries. They must answer what is expected, when to use AI and when not, um, how is it rewarded, and what's the relation to headcount. If you don't answer these questions proactively, people will invent answers, and this will fragment your culture. In a nutshell, in a paradigm shift, silence is not neutral. It will create fear. So let's come to the resolution. What have we observed to work on an executive level to counter these blockers? Number one, and first importantly, don't treat AI coding as introducing yet another tool. Treat it as teaching your organization a new way of working. And that means in detail. Number one, permission to learn before pressure to perform. Expect a productivity dip and say it out loudly, communicate it very clearly. Let people learn, and also let them communicate what doesn't work. Celebrate every experience. Number two, minimal guardrails and a clear focus on a learning loop. Only lock down what really matters and give everything else room to evolve. And number three, an explicit communication about expectation, about fears and rewards. Not one announcement, but a continuous conversation. And if you get all this and many other things right, AI stops to be a side experiment. And that's the underlying assumptions I mentioned earlier. Tools get deployed, paradigms get learned. And for the real competitive advantage of your software development organization, it doesn't matter which tool you choose. What matters is how fast can your organization learn this new way of developing software. We are very curious to learn about your experience and challenge in this area. So if you have something to share, please leave a comment below this video. If you face these or similar challenges in your organization, we are here to help. We provide training and consulting on AI coding adoption, from executive alignment down to daily workflows. Link to our service is in the description of this video. Finally, if you like the content, we will soon publish more videos on invisible blockers and other related topics, so feel free to subscribe to our channel to get notified. Thank you very much for watching.